What's up, y'all? This is me, Megan, your girl. Welcome back to my channel, to all of my returning subscribers. However, if this is your first time joining me on today, welcome. Here we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So come on in and have a seat if you like what you see, okay? And today I will be discussing Sun North Node conjunctions in Synastry. Now, if you are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I have spoken out about Sun-South Node relationships in the past, as I find them to be particularly regressive, sticky, toxic, although obviously they're not the only astrological indicator of a toxic relationship. But if you ask me, they're not worth the trouble that comes with them. And 9 times out of 10, when you deal with somebody whose sun is on your south node or vice versa, you are pretty much signing up for a relationship with a lot of karmic debt. All relationships have problems. All relationships have issues. That's human nature. But these are issues that are going to be detrimental to your evolution on a spiritual level. Now, I had a lot of people ask me, well, Megan, what about North Node relationships? What if my sun is on this other person's North Node or vice versa? Now, one would probably make the assumption that, this is a really good placement and that pretty much is going to yield all of the polar opposite results of a Sun South Node conjunction in Synastry, which is partially correct. So some of the major hallmarks of a Sun North Node relationship in Synastry are going to be as follows. Number one, they are very triggering. And this is actually very similar to Sun South Node relationships. But with North Node relationships, it's a different type of trigger. And one could argue that it's a trigger that is needed and that the node person has to learn how to overcome, right, in order to embody more of those North Node characteristics. So it's a trigger that could ultimately lead to some positive benefits depending on how you approach that trigger, as opposed to where the South Node trigger, it's a trigger that is supposed to be a wake-up call in order for you to release the relationship or to move in a different direction. But a lot of times that Sun individual will be more so instrumental in terms of like your development arc when we talk about North Node relationships. And can that be a good thing? Absolutely. But can it also be a bad thing? Absolutely. It just depends on how the node person chooses to handle it. Because a lot of times being triggered, it's not a pleasant experience, right? Being triggered is being triggered. So this could manifest in situations, circumstances, fated events, life events, challenges that really put a person between a rock and a hard place, if you will. And this leaves the node individual, with literally the decision of growing, evolving, learning, or not being stuck in that same box, which once again is another factor that could overlap with Sun South Node relationships. It's just that with the North Node relationship, maybe it's something that could be good for you or even a blessing in disguise, which could be a major hallmarker of a Sun North Node relationship. So it could manifest in a bad situation, something that happens that could be triggered by that Sun individual. Everything could seem really, really bad. But when it's all said and done, the node person could look back on the encounter and realize that in some sick, twisted way, right, whatever that situation, whatever fated event, whatever fated relationship that came out of this contact with the Sun individual was something that ultimately has made them wiser and they can use to their benefit. They have more control over the dynamic in that regard. Okay, so Sun North Node relationships in Synastry also as mentioned before, do trigger you to evolve. They kind of force you to have to. Once again, you can make the choice to do so or not, but you can make your life way more difficult than what it has to be. The sun person could also be some sort of a punishment. As unpopular as this may be for me to say, the North Node in general, even natally, deals with parts of our lives in areas where we are going to be subject to punishment if we don't get it together. It's a very karmic kind of energy. So very similar to Sun-South Node relationships. Once again, a Sun-North Node relationship in Synastry is going to be filled with lots of karma. And to the node person, depending on, the signs involved and other factors, there's something about that relationship that could feel burdensome, or where the node person feels like that sun person is once again punishing them in some shape, form, or fashion. This is a conjunction that could bring forth a lot of challenges. Sun-North Node relationships in Synastry could also serve as turning points, with that sun individual initiating a very important turning point in the node's person's life. And this kind of ties back into my initial point of the sun individual triggering some sort of growth, some sort of development, some sort of evolution in the North Node individual. It's just based on how the North Node person handles the situation, to be honest. The sun individual could represent a trait or something about the North Node individual that node individual is in denial about. Sun-North Node relationships can point towards readjustment, where readjustments need to be made on the node person's end in order to keep the relationship going or healthy or on the up and up. These are fated relationships that are designed to show you exactly where you need more work and development, specifically for the node person. Okay. When we talk about Sun-North Node relationships in Synastry, the sun individual could also serve as some sort of inspiration to the node individual for them to become more in tune with their North Node mission. There's something about the way that the node person interacts and engages with the sun individual that's going to be very imperative, or that's supposed to teach the node person how to fully activate their North Node. Okay. This could also even point to where maybe there are wishes that are, fulfilled, or where two people are able to meet their needs. I almost get this sense of, when we talk about the North Node is what you need, but it may not always be what you like. So even if the sun person is seemingly somebody that the node individual is very close to, there's something about the connection to where the sun individual may be what's good for you, but a lot of times you may not like them, or, just depending on the individuals involved, there could be things or triggers that could make this connection honestly just as toxic as a South Node trigger. But once again, the major distinguishing factor is that if handled right, this is supposed to be something that is good for you. This is what you need. You needed that as the node person. The sun person forces the node individual to address old and unresolved problems. And that also kind of ties back into, in a weird way, how the sun person could be that node individual's karma. Right? These are people who may even test you in terms of whether they consciously do it or subconsciously, right? To see if you are ready for what you claim you're ready for. Also, some other hallmarkers that I've noticed in Sun-North Node relationships could be the joining of two people, to where it's not uncommon for people to have children together. With this, the sun does deal with kids. Okay. These are two people who can come together later in life. Not always, but can, or where there is some sort of potentiality, depending on other factors, of two people being able to grow together long term. Now on to the examples. I know y'all been looking at these pictures in my little slideshow. So we're going to start with Janae Ayoko and Big Sean. Okay. Big Sean has his North Node at the 22nd degree of Pisces, while Janae Aiko has her Sun at the 26th degree of Pisces. So this would place Janae's Sun on Big Sean's North Node. Not to mention, Janae has Sun conjoined to the North Node in Pisces in her own chart, but we'll discuss that momentarily. So in terms of this connection, this North Node conjunction can be indicative of Janae triggering some sort of spiritual awakening in Big Sean, which is very interesting because everybody knows Janae for being one of the spiritual girlies, right? Which is like just very Piscean in nature, where she, is really big about meditation and all that new age stuff. But I feel like she could have been somebody who may have placed Big Sean on this path. And for good reason, too, because a lot of Pisces, and another archetype of this expression could be feeling the need to be a savior for other people. And in this connection, I think Janae may embody that. So her feeling like Big Sean is somebody that she can save or rescue, or someone who needs a lot of grace and compassion, and she's there to make room and give him that. And technically, as a Pisces North Node, Big Sean is supposed to experience that. So this is a relationship that could trigger a lot of that for him, in terms of him being somebody who has to learn how to be more compassionate and understanding himself. So even in regards to him maybe mirroring her behavior or going through situations where you may need grace and compassion, or somebody to be kind or cut you some slack, or feeling like maybe you need somebody to kind of take care of you or help you along, especially when we consider the fact that a lot of Virgo South nodes tend to come with their own issues, whether it be like health issues or mental health problems. These are people who can be workaholics in their own right or have very dysregulated nervous systems. And so there's almost this need for a break. These are people who are always looking for a soft spot. And Janae could definitely be that for him, that soft spot, whether it be through introducing him to spirituality or being somebody who is very pivotal in his spiritual journey, right? Awakening that softer side of him, or that side of himself where he feels like, he can remove all the bullshit. But it could also be a very enabling conjunction in the sense that the other octave of Pisces could also be sacrifice. So where Janae is making a lot of sacrifices and empty sacrifices for this relationship, because that whole "I'ma save you" mentality, as we all know, very, very slippery slope. And this is a really perfect description or embodiment of how conjunctions to the North Node may not necessarily be all bad, but for that reason, I can't definitively say that they're 100% good. Janae could feel enslaved to the relationship or sacrifice a lot of her happiness within the relationship. It could easily create a trauma bond, especially with that opposition to Janae's South Node and Big Sean's South Node, which just so happens to be in Janae's 10th house. Now, that could deal with them working together too, where they have this very majestic kind of creative bond where Janae could play a very pivotal role in helping Big Sean unlock a lot of his creative gifts, right? Where it's something about when they come together, they can, create something beautiful. And of course, children could also be a part of that. So they definitely hit one of those hallmarkers, having kids together, this kind of creative bond, this spiritual bond. And, for what it's worth, I love their music. They had that, 28, whatever group it was they created, but they had that one album that came out in like 2016, 17. If you know, you know. It was a great time to be alive. I love their music. But anywho, there's something about Janae that makes Big Sean feel understood, and almost like, she maybe could be his escape, his getaway from day-to-day life. Something about this connection where it could feel almost extraordinary, or where she could almost be like an angelic force in his life. And I don't know why, but I definitely just see that. I could see that dynamic between the two of them. But she just has to be really careful, because, this could be a very fragile connection for her. Janae's sun is in her 4th house. So, this Sun North Node conjunction, because she also has the same conjunction, Sun North Node conjunction natally. That also is a reinforcement of her starting a family with him. But it could also even deal with where a lot of things are not what they appear to be in the connection. Once again, this could be like, being like sacrificed, or sacrificing something that you want and it not panning out. You not fully getting your way, or not being happy. Like even being disappointed, being let down, or being let down by Summer Shine's behavior. Another Pisces North Node Sun conjunction, Synastry-wise, could be examined in the relationship between Chris Brown and Rihanna. Rihanna's Sun and Chris Brown's North Node are both at the 1st degree of Pisces. And Rihanna has Pisces on the North Node as well, although she doesn't have a Sun North Node conjunction natally. But this whole hookup is very reminiscent of Janae and Big Sean's connection. And one thing that these two relationships have in common is just how important and karmic these relationships are, how life-changing these relationships are for the Sun individual as well. So for Rihanna and Janae, these relationships are supposed to point them in a different direction also, or there's something that could be very faded in regards to these connections for these young women also. But specifically speaking to Chris Brown and Rihanna, this Sun North Node conjunction easily could manifest in Rihanna feeling like she has to save or rescue Chris as well. And what made me think about this was the whole domestic violence situation that took place between Chris Brown and Rihanna back in 2009 after Chris Brown was arrested for beating her, okay? And it was a really big scandal. If you were outside at that time, you kind of know Chris Brown was supposed to be the next Michael Jackson. He was like the industry favorite, industry darling. And Rihanna was on the path to her budding level of superstardom as well. But she wasn't the Rihanna that we all know at the moment. And after this situation took place, the public turned on Chris Brown. People regarded him as a woman beater and everything of that nature. But for Rihanna, her career seemingly kind of took off due to whether you want to call it like the sympathy or whatever the case may be. But I remember during this time and even a couple years to come, even despite the fact that she was a woman in a situation, she was a victim in the sense that, yes, there was a man hitting on you, right? She was very vocal about protecting him and saying stuff like, he needs help. And, they even came back together and got back together, in the early 2010s. And so this was very indicative of this North Node conjunction between the two, because even despite a lot of the obstacles and challenges that they faced together, and that's putting it mildly, but, Sun North Node challenges, obstacles, right? Despite a lot of the things getting in the way of their relationship, she still had this desire to save him, rescue him, if you will. And, this conjunction, very similar to the first example, could also be symbolic of where these two really felt like they were one another's safe space. And I could see where Chris Brown could definitely have that feeling about Rihanna. Like, well, the rest of the world may not understand me, but she is my go-to. She is my soft spot. And it was something about that dynamic between the two of them that was supposed to teach him how to, once again, embody a lot of those qualities and those traits for himself, awakening that more loving, giving, compassionate side within himself. Has he done that? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments if you feel like Chris has successfully learned his lesson from this faded Sun-North Node connection. But this is also a really good example of the Sun-North Node connection in Synastry because, as I mentioned, it may not necessarily be an entirely positive thing, and it's not a definitive indicator that you're just going to be with the person forever because y'all have a Sun-North Node connection. Okay. This was a relationship that required a lot of sacrifice. And I don't know how y'all want to look at this in terms of some people feel like Chris Brown was the one who was sacrificed because, once again, Rihanna's career got bigger after the fact. Or maybe Chris did more to Rihanna than what we even know, and she sacrificed some part of herself so that, you know, he could have somewhat of a career. And even though, don't get me wrong, obviously Chris Brown is very successful, but his career and his public standing in the industry and like globally have really not been the same. Black people didn't stop messing with him, but the world at large, the industry very much did. Now, this conjunction could also even point to where maybe drugs were a part of the equation. And y'all know Chris Brown is known for his drug addiction. That's one of the things that he's known for anyway. I'm going to leave that there. Theoretically, could this deal with them have, you know, Rihanna introducing him to drugs? Maybe. Vice versa. Or just them engaging in these things together? Possibly. This could also materialize in a secret connection too. For a lot of Pisces North nodes, because they have Virgo on the South node, they work a lot. Not uncommon for them to have relations with people that work for them, like coworkers, which could also even be translated to the Janae Ayoko example because, once again, she and Big Sean worked together too. And they also had a very secretive relationship that caused a lot of controversy because at different points in time, the two of them were connected with different people while they were seeing each other, supposedly. Same thing with Chris Brown and Rihanna. That Sun-North Node conjunction of Pisces could deal with them hooking up, and linking when nobody knows about it. Now, do I think that's something they do right now in the present time? Probably not. But, at different points throughout their connection in the past, probably. Lots of things that we don't know about the connection. For the node person, the sun individual, in this case, when we talk about Pisces, that could be the person of their dreams. So very similar to how Big Sean looks at Janae, Chris Brown may have very well looked at Rihanna like that, his dream girl, idealizing her, or vice versa, which can set a person up for a major disappointment. But also in Pisces fashion, humiliation, victimhood are all things, or victimization are all themes that presented themselves in this connection too, which ultimately is the main reason for them not being together. One of the partners doing jail time, another really big manifestation for this Sun-North Node conjunction in Pisces. So you see where I'm going with this? Y'all drop down in the comments. Once again, let me know if you think Chris Brown learned his lesson. Do you think he evolved into his true Pisces North Node self because of this relationship? I say no, because this nigga was still beating bitches up after the fact. But, moving on. Next, we have Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. So Kanye West is a Libra North Node, and Kim Kardashian is a Libra Sun. And at this point, I have reached a space in this video where I don't feel the need to emphasize the degree because I'm tired and I'm lazy and I'm trying to hurry up and get this video over with so that I can publish it as soon as possible. If you want to discuss the degrees, we can do so. A different video for a different day. But today, I would like to break down this relationship as it pertains to my point in Sun-North Node aspects in Synastry, okay? These two individuals, this is a very interesting couple. As you guys may know, they recently divorced. I think the divorce is finalized. However, whether you want to look at it this way or not, this was a very faded and actually very intentionally designed connection for both parties involved. And on Kanye's end specifically, this was supposed to be a relationship that pointed him in the direction of his evolution as well. As an Aries South Node, naturally, he's very egotistical, somebody who's very selfish, narcissistic. A lot of Aries South Nodes have a really hard time being considerate of other people, focusing on other people. Everything is always about like me, me, me. They can also be hypersexual, very bestial in terms of like just their attitude, their approach to life. They feel like they're a one-man band when it comes to everything. You know, these are people who, and a lot of times they come from very hard lives, whether it be like this lifetime or maybe just like past life experiences. But in my opinion, of all the South Node placements, Aries South Nodes can be some of the more difficult people to deal with, just straight up. And in this lifetime, he has to learn how to understand women. Libra rules the opposite sex. So Kim was a major lesson in that. Him, or, you know, and y'all could also drop down in the comment section, let me know if y'all think this nigga learned his lesson. But there was something about his relationship with Kim that was supposed to open him up to the ways of women and take him outside of himself just enough for him to start making decisions from a place where he's a lot more balanced, where he is a lot more considerate of how his actions affect other people, right? Libra, I always talk about, is the sign of PR, public relations, or it could deal with, you know, how a person engages or like their appearance when it comes to, you know, other people and, you know, the type of relationships and connections a person can develop with others. And because of this Sun North Node connection between these two, the way it ended up playing out was Kim did a lot of Kanye's PR work. She low-key became his publicist. So when he would do or say something crazy, Kim Kardashian would take her little narrow ass to the internet and come out with whether it be an apology or, you know, she and her family are good for like the little stunts that keep the media right where they want them kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if even in their personal life, she was like the liaison, which Libra could deal with liaisons, or somebody who could be the moderator, the go-between. So maybe she positioned herself in that role almost to be like an advocate for Kanye. But once again, that relationship was supposed to turn him into someone who was more comfortable and familiar with tapping into that energy himself. Okay, where he also had to learn how to make compromises and accommodations and being accommodating of other people, or instead of just acting on how he feels in that moment with zero regard for anybody else, right? Aries, that Aries South Node energy can make a person very impulsive. There was something about the way that Kim is very deliberate about her life. And I do believe that this North Node conjunction is taking place in her 10th house. It's right on her 11th house cusp. So that could deal with where Kim is very intentional about like her career, even her social media presence with that 11th house factored in. And where before she does anything, she could have like a panel of people that she consults with. Once again, she's very intentional about her branding, and very intentional about how she comes across to other people. So before she makes any moves, even when it comes to her marriage, this could deal with where their very marriage was kind of predicated upon that, where it could have been a marriage of convenience on her end, his end, or both parties, but definitely her end. And where it was something that was strategic and very, you know, specific in terms of like the development of her career. And Kanye was supposed to kind of understand this energy, learn from it, and apply it himself so that he can get what he needed out of the situation. I don't think he did. Honestly, Kanye still gives very unevolved Aries South Node kind of tease. And ultimately, it seems that's why Kim, or one of the reasons why she just couldn't be bothered with him no more. Not to mention, I think she just kind of had her own ulterior motives from the start, but I'm not crying tattoo tears, as Lovely T would say, over Kanye West. You know, whatever. Another way that this North Node conjunction played out was lawsuits, legal issues, especially when it came down to the divorce. You know, one or two individuals could get very hung up on this relationship. So somebody obstructing the divorce from being finalized, and I think Kanye did, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all let me know in the comment section. But this could be very symbolic of this Sun North Node conjunction in Libra, where one party, maybe specifically even the node individual, may not want to completely like lead a relationship, you know, especially if this is happening on that 11th house cusp in Kim's chart. And her also having Libra in the 10th house is like, it could be a relationship that lasts for a very long time and it looks a certain way to us, right? But they're holding on. It could be a loveless relationship. Once again, with that 11th house factored in, one that's just convenient, whatever, it makes sense. But like deep down inside, I mean, it can be very problematic, or behind closed doors, right? Aries in the 4th house, lots of fights, very problematic, where Kanye West could have been a whole tyrant behind the scenes, raising all kinds of hell. So, you know, this is just another reminder that what you see with these people isn't always what you get in any relationship. Libra cares a lot about its appearance, and Kanye needed that. Although I would argue Kim does that a little bit too much, but it's something that Kanye needed, you know, and they were placed on each other's path in order for him to kind of develop these qualities. And I mean, I guess time will tell whether or not he's been able to kind of learn his lesson from this. But fun fact, Amber Rose was also a Libra, and he played out that North Node Sun dynamic with her as well. And, you know, that didn't work out so great either. So once again, another example of how Sun North Node relationships are not a get out of jail free card. My guy, it comes with issues both ways, but with the North Node relationships, you have a little bit more to work with, meaning you can actually take them, your ability to take these relationships or the lessons learned from these relationships, you know, or even some of the struggles you've gone through, and use them to your benefit. You have more to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Let me know if y'all want a part 2. If you want a part 2, I'll upload one with more examples, celebrity-wise, in terms of couples that played out this Sun North Node dynamic in Synastry. Thanks for watching. Make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye.